My parent, my anchor, was slipping away. Each day brought a new ache to my heart. I knew I had to do something, something truly special, to fill their final days with comfort and love. That's when the idea of the memory book took root. It wasn't just a collection of photos. It was a tapestry of our shared life, a testament to every laugh, every quiet moment, every cherished memory we had woven together. I envisioned it as a soft landing for their tired mind, a gentle reminder of all the beauty we had created as a family. This book became my sacred duty, my way of saying goodbye without words. For years, I poured my heart into that book. It wasn't a chore, it was my solace. Every late night spent sifting through old letters, every afternoon carefully arranging faded pictures, felt like a hug from the past. I found a deep purpose in chronicling our family's story, in preserving the moments that made us. It was a way to process my own grief, to feel close to my parent even as their illness progressed. This project became my quiet sanctuary, a place where love and memory intertwined, where I could still feel hopeful amidst the encroaching shadows. My sister, Lena, was different. She always had a way of making herself the center of attention. When she learned about my memory book, a flicker of something I couldn't quite place crossed her face. She'd offer suggestions, sometimes dismissive, sometimes just a little too eager to take over. I remember her saying, "Oh, that's sweet, but are you sure Mom and Dad will really care about all those old things?" It felt like a subtle jab, a tiny seed of doubt she planted in my mind. I brushed it off, telling myself she just didn't understand how much this meant. Then, Lena started to help. She'd offer to organize some of the photos or suggest better ways to label things, but her help always felt like a subtle rearrangement, a quiet shift in my carefully planned narrative. A few times, I'd find a photo placed in the wrong section or a caption slightly altered. When I'd ask, she'd simply shrug, "Oh, I thought it made more sense there," or "You must have put it there, I just tidied up." It was never outright malicious, just enough to make me feel a little unsettled, like my project wasn't quite mine anymore. The mishaps began subtly. A favorite childhood photo of my parent and me, one I specifically remembered scanning, was suddenly missing from the digital folder. Then, a file containing some of the digitized family recipes, carefully transcribed, became corrupted. I spent hours trying to recover it. I told myself it was just technology, or maybe I was tired and misremembered. These were small things, easily explained away, but they left a faint, lingering unease. It felt like tiny pinpricks in the fabric of my work. Despite the little annoyances, the book grew. I started sharing parts of it with my parent, page by page, moment by moment. Their eyes would light up with a pure, unadulterated joy that warmed my soul. They'd smile, a true, deep smile, as they remembered a long-forgotten picnic or a silly family joke. "You've captured it all, my dear," they'd whisper, their voice full of peace. Seeing their happiness, their solace, was everything. I didn't realize that each moment of their peace was a fresh wound to Lena's quiet envy, a spark to a fire I couldn't yet see. Then came the blow that shattered my naive belief in accidents. The small, worn baby blanket, my parents' most treasured childhood possession, which I had carefully photographed and included as a central tactile element in the book, vanished. It wasn't just misplaced. It was gone. I searched everywhere, my heart pounding in my chest. This was irreplaceable. A cold dread seeped into me. This wasn't a mistake. This was deliberate. My stomach clenched with a gut-wrenching realization. Someone was actively trying to destroy my work. I couldn't bring myself to accuse Lena directly, not yet. But I asked her, casually, if she'd seen the blanket or knew anything about the missing photos. She met my gaze with wide, innocent eyes. "Oh, honey, you're so stressed with everything," she said, her voice dripping with concern. "Maybe you just put it somewhere and forgot. You know how things get when you're overwhelmed." She made me feel foolish, paranoid, as if my own grief was making me imagine things. Her words twisted my concern into self-doubt, leaving me feeling isolated and confused. The worst part was seeing the effect on my parent. They started to ask questions. "Didn't that picture of us on the beach used to be on this page?" They'd ask, a faint frown on their brow. Or, "I thought the story about Grandma's garden was here, but it's not." Their confusion, their subtle distress tore at me. These were the moments meant to bring them peace, not more questions. It was clear that the sabotage was working, clouding their final moments with sadness and uncertainty, just as I had feared. A chilling clarity settled over me. This wasn't just about a book. It was about stealing my parents' peace, about Lena's insidious desire to erase my love from their final memories. The horror of her calculated malice dawned on me fully. I looked at my parent, their frail hand resting on a page, and made a silent vow. I would protect this project. I would protect them. I started taking extra precautions, making backup copies, hiding the originals, setting up small, almost invisible safeguards around my sacred offering. The fight had just begun. My heart ached with a terrible certainty. I knew what I had to do, even though it felt wrong. I moved quietly, placing small cameras in hidden spots around the house. Each click of the camera, each wire carefully tucked away, felt like a betrayal of my own family. But I needed proof, undeniable proof, to protect my parent and their precious memories. I prayed I was wrong, but a cold dread told me otherwise. The wait was agonizing, but the truth, when it came, was far worse. I sat alone, watching the footage. There was Lena, moving with a quiet, chilling purpose. I saw her delete entire folders of scanned photos, tear out pages from the physical book I had started, and even scribble over captions I had lovingly written. Each act was a deliberate, calculated strike against my parents' legacy. My breath caught in my throat. When the screen finally went dark, I felt an emptiness so profound it took my breath away. My body trembled, and tears streamed down my face. This was not a misunderstanding, not an accident. This was monstrous treachery, a deliberate act of emotional torture. My own sister, my flesh and blood, had systematically destroyed the very thing meant to bring our dying parent peace. The gut-wrenching realization left me utterly shattered, unable to move. Meanwhile, my parents' condition worsened, their confusion growing with each passing day. They would hold the incomplete book, their brow furrowed. "Didn't we have a picture of that old tree in the garden?" They'd ask, their voice tinged with sadness. Or, "I thought the story about our first pet was here." Each question was a fresh wound, a direct result of Lena's cruelty. Their final days, meant for solace, were instead filled with a heartbreaking uncertainty. I knew I had to confront Lena. My voice was calm, but inside, a storm raged. I showed her the footage, the undeniable proof of her actions. She watched it, her face expressionless. There was no apology, no flicker of remorse. Instead, a faint, almost imperceptible smirk played on her lips. It was a chilling confirmation of her remorselessness, a cold, hard truth that solidified my resolve. With what little time we had left, I worked feverishly. I pieced together what I could, using backup files and old memories. Every moment was a race against the clock, a desperate attempt to restore some semblance of the peace Lena had stolen. My exhaustion was immense, but the thought of my parent, their beautiful memories, kept me going. I had to try, even if it was just a fraction of what it once was. The final days arrived, heavy with an unbearable sadness. I presented the partially restored legacy to my parent, my heart aching. They smiled faintly, recognizing some parts, but the confusion lingered in their eyes. The gaps, the missing pieces were still there, a testament to Lena's cruel handiwork. My parents' peace, their final solace, was irrevocably broken. It was a profound, painful realization. My parent passed quietly, their hand in mine. My grief was immense, a heavy blanket that smothered me. But beneath it, a searing rage began to burn. Lena had stolen their peace, their final moments of comfort. The solace I had worked so hard to create was gone, replaced by a bitter emptiness. My parent was gone, and I was left with a crushing sense of what had been taken from them and from me. The tears eventually subsided, replaced by a cold, unwavering resolve. I knew what I had to do. This was no longer just about my grief. It was about justice. I committed to a new mission, to systematically expose Lena's emotional terrorism to our wider family and to anyone who would listen. She had weaponized our parents' illness, and she would answer for it. This was my new sacred duty, born from the ashes of my broken heart. I began to gather more evidence, meticulously organizing every detail, every piece of footage, every altered document. This would not be a quiet family affair. I would plan a public, inescapable exposure, one that would make Lena pay for the ultimate theft of our parents' peace. The journey ahead was long and difficult, but my resolve was solid. My parent deserved truth, and I would fight for it, even if it meant tearing our family apart. It was a bittersweet path, but one I walked with unwavering purpose.